talk about, as we're going into the new year, maybe some new things about getting clients. That's the main, well, not the main thing, but I know it's the main thing that you probably care about, what you're in this group for, partially is to help you get more clients in 2019 and beyond. So I want to talk about the first thing, and I can only talk about what's worked for me. As I've said, before, I'm not necessarily the greatest client getter, and I haven't been actively pursuing clients in a while. But I can tell you how over the years I've been doing. Like I said, I've been doing this about 11 years, 2007. This is a little bit longer than that, and so I've had some success at getting clients over that time, and I thought I would break down a few of the things that have worked for me that I think are probably essential for you. I could be wrong, and I do want to hear from anybody else who has something to say about this. What's working for you? So if you have something that's working really well for you, share it with the rest of us. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things that have been essential for me in this, over the past decade. And today, like I said, we're just going to talk about one today, and that is, I believe you should have your own domain, your own website. You probably read somewhere, I know for a while it was a buzz thing. You can be a copywriter, be, a six-figure copywriter without your own website. And that's probably true to some extent and for some people. I don't think it helps, though, to approach from the perspective of, I don't want to have a home base online or a headquarters online where people can find me. Because as you know, what do people do when they're thinking about anything or wondering about anything? They go to Google and they look for you. They might look for you on Facebook. They might look for you on LinkedIn. They probably will. But if you don't have a website, that's kind of a strike against you. It should be a website that has something to do with who you are, what you do. Like mine is DonnieBryant.com, just my name. And I think a lot of the copywriters, when I was getting started, John Carlton, his site was johncarlton.com. David Deutsch is daviddeutsch.com. And I think, guys like that, Gary Halbert Letter, stuff like that. So I just went that route, pretending that I'm somebody important. But it sets you up to look like a professional. If you're the first thing I did, even before I had the website, I was using a free WordPress blog. But I bought my domain. I just didn't have money to pay for hosting. I owned my domain so I could send emails from my domain. So it'd be from DonnieBryant.com, or it's Donnie-Bryant.com. And that sends a different message to people who you're emailing. I take myself seriously. I take my profession seriously. And I think it's serious enough to invest. Imagine if you're sending an email to a potential client from Hotmail or Gmail. Some people do that. But if there's two options. One guy sends from a Hotmail or Yahoo account, and somebody sends from a personal domain. Which one do you think is more professional? Which one do you think the prospect is likely to think is more professional? Makes a big difference. There's on the highway, or just off the highway in Chicago here, there's a big billboard for a divorce lawyer. I'm lying. There is a divorce lawyer, but the one I'm thinking about is a real estate agent, I believe. It's a billboard that says, I'll buy your house in 5 minutes. But the email address on the bottom is a Hotmail address. It's so weird. It sends you off into thinking or questioning the credibility and the seriousness of that individual. By the way, Krishan and James, I see you. Appreciate you hanging out with me this morning. So anyway, you don't want to send the message that you're unprofessional or that you're just playing around with this thing. So having your own domain sets you up as a professional, as someone who's planning on being here for a while, and it helps you. Like I said, when somebody Googles you, they can find you. They might find your WordPress blog. They might find your. They could find your profile on LinkedIn. But if you have a website, even if it's a really simple one, I think that's a benefit to you. And it's been very important to me. I can say over the years, I've gotten a number of, well, I've gotten a lot of prospects and some clients from the website just because it's there. People coming through the contact form, I think in another way, you get that as part of the research process when people are looking for people to hire, or looking for people at least to ask about projects. They look at your website, and I get that a lot. Oh, I saw your website. This is cool. And in another way, people who aren't necessarily trying to hire you, but people who might want to have you as a speaker, want to have you on a podcast, or want to have you do guest articles or something like that. Having a website there helps a lot. So there's that. I think it differentiates you also because there are a whole lot of copywriters who think they can just harass people on Facebook, and that's like where they exist. And when you have your website, you're different than them. They don't seem as professional. So there's that. Another good thing about having a website is it gives you a chance to differentiate yourself and to really demonstrate the kind of writer you are, the kind of philosophy that you have, and your skill set. I used my site for a long time. I didn't have anybody to write for. Nobody was paying me. So I was sending to my email list, and I was writing on my blog, and I tried to do it something like once a week or something like that. Starting in, it was like 2008? I think I started the first time in 2008. It could be right. I probably started my free blog in 2008. But like in 2011, we got pretty serious about it. And just wrote for my site. If I had nothing going on, I definitely did that. But even when I did have clients, I kept trying to go back there to establish my presence online, to try to establish thought leadership and share my philosophy or whatever when I'm learning. And for a long time, I was sharing stuff I was learning. So, I saw John Carlton said this. I saw this really cool ad here. And I would kind of talk about that and share what I was learning from stuff. And over time, I began to develop my own thought leadership, at least to myself. And I could say things that I thought up first. At least I think that I thought up first. Or my different take on things that you saw. Everybody saw the Super Bowl ads. Like, I would talk about Super Bowl ads for a little while, but that's not really our industry. So it lets you get into your own thing. But you had to develop that. So it gives you a chance to demonstrate your skills like that. And now my website has like 200 articles on it or something like that, 200 blog posts. And so it gave me a chance to really think through how I think and to establish my voice and really become the writer that I am, because I was writing for me. I wasn't writing for clients. I was sharing my own thoughts and thinking through my own perspective and my own positions. So that was important for me. But, the benefit of having 200 blog posts is Google knows me. It really does. And not so much in the last couple of years. I think I wrote on my site once or twice in 2018. Just been so busy doing other stuff. But I don't carry business cards. There's another reason for that. But part of what's cool about it is I say, if someone says, do you have business cards? No, but just ask Google. Google knows me. And that's impressive to most people. They say, first of all, when you say you don't have business cards, you're either people think you're crazy or people think that's really impressive. I get both. But you just Google me. And I'm 7 of the first 10 things on Google that you'll find. Like I said, that may not be the case right now because I don't have anything fresh for Google to consume. But for a while, I was 8 of the first 10, at least when I was Googling myself. So, that sets you up to look like a professional, to look like a dominant force in the space. If you don't have a website, it doesn't let you do that. So I think that's a benefit that you get as well. And again, one of the other things is you practice. If you have more than just a splash page there, it gives you a chance to practice. Like I said, I wrote 200 some articles, whatever. You get a chance to write. If you're writing for yourself, at least you're writing. You may not always have clients, but you can always be writing for yourself. And writing on Facebook is one thing. Organic reach is tough, as you know. And posting in groups helps with your friends, but it might not help with clients. So if you're writing a blog, like I say, blogging is dead. It probably is. It's not the greatest, most direct way to get clients, but as a way of establishing your position as a professional copywriter, I think it's helpful. And over the long term, it helps a lot. And again, it's proof. People can see that you can write because they can read what you've written. They don't have to ask for samples. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But if you have writing online, you can demonstrate your skills and demonstrate your expertise and demonstrate your presence. So those are the benefits. Let me say this also. I've told people this a lot, and I hope that you get it. I probably should have said it at the beginning because this is one of the most important things that's worked for me, or that's been important for me in my career, is that I just didn't go away. You may have noticed, and if you're new to the game, you may not have, but in the past 11 years, we've gone through like 5 generations of copywriters. So many people get in because they read somewhere that they can make 6 figures this year or within the next year and live on the beach drinking whatever, the dream that they sell you. And you find out it doesn't work that way for most people. It probably doesn't work that way, especially for black people, because we have that barrier. People don't take us as serious at first glance. And they quit. So I found that people don't usually make it past year 2 if they don't have some level of success. Now, I was just crazy enough and had just a tiny taste of success in the first 2 years, where I was able to press through and keep going. And within 5 years, people notice. If people know you're a copywriter, you've shared around, people know you're the only copywriter they know. And so when someone says, "Hey, I need a copywriter," they think of you. This is true. But having a website that's been around for 5 years, it means something. Having a website that's been around for 10 years, it means something. People can say, "Okay, this guy's been here." You can look back, and my posts are dated, which is good in that way. It's bad, and some people say, "Well, this is 5 years old or 10 years old. Why should I read it?" But it matters because people can see that you've been around. And like I said, if you make it past 2 years, you're already in like the top 50%. Because most of your classmates are dropping out. They went to go get regular jobs. There's nothing wrong with having a job as long as you keep doing this. But they gave up, or they just said, this doesn't work. It's a scam, or it's not for me, or maybe I was wrong in thinking this is my calling. So you got to stick it out. But I think a website is a good way of proving that you stuck around, proving that you've been here. And like I said, it had meant a lot to me in my career. A lot of people say, "You're the only guy I know who's still writing copy." And for that reason, I by default have won business. I've won recommendations or referrals. And I've had, someone said, "We're looking for a copywriter to, participate in this roundtable discussion." Then they call you because you're the only one they know. So I think those are all good reasons that you should have a website of your own. Now, like I said, there's probably a way of doing it without it. We'll talk about a couple other things, and I probably have 5 things. We'll try to talk about one per day. Get 2019 started off right. But anyway, websites are important, I think, for setting yourself up to be a professional, setting yourself up for long-term success and differentiation from the other clowns in the space.